From the death penalty to the nursing home, he spent 70 years in American prison and was called the longest-serving prisoner in the world. What kind of person would you be if you made a mistake at the age of 22 and spent the next 70 years behind bars? Hello everyone, I'm Little Blue Man. In today's issue, we talk about a story that almost gives life to time. Francis Clifford Smith. He went from death row to life imprisonment to being transferred to a nursing facility in his 90s. Some people say that this is called belated forgiveness. Others say that this is not a release, but a replacement of the bars with a fence. Is this the victory of justice or the inertia of the system? Let's talk slowly. This is the first issue of the Little Blue Man documentary. Welcome everyone to subscribe to our Little Blue Man, like, forward and comment on this video. Thousands of facts. In 1950, Smith was arrested and charged for armed robbery and the death of a guard. At that time, the judicial atmosphere in the United States was very harsh on violent death cases. The court initially sentenced the death penalty, but the verdict did not come to an end. Later, the death penalty was not executed and converted to life imprisonment. From here on, his life and freedom were taken over by time. In the early years, young people who resisted prison escape and parole, even if they went to prison, they still had that unwilling impulse in their bodies. He tried to escape from prison and he tried to get parole. The prison break failed, the consequences were very serious, the parole was not obtained, and even the parole qualification was permanently disqualified. From then on, his struggle became slowly consumed, which lasted for decades. Times are changing, people are outside the old prison, and the world is moving from black and white TV to smartphone. In prison, time is like chronic erosion. Friends grow old, relatives die, and social concepts are renewed. Smith went from a young man who had committed a felony to an old man with a wrinkled face. To tell the truth, this is not a movie. This is a person in the system by time. The whole process of processing turns into nursing care from the elderly. Things changed in 2020. That year, he was transferred to a nursing and old age care institution, formally leaving the traditional cell, but still under supervision. 2 years later, the media concentrated on reporting, allowing the public to systematically see this man from youth to white hair for the first time. Many reports are not uniform in the words of release or not, but the consensus is that it is not completely free. It is not the beginning of the scenery, but more like caregiving at the end of life. Here's my opinion. Many viewers will ask, is it worth doing it for 70 years? From the victim's point of view, the loss of life is irreversible, and long-term detention represents the society's zero tolerance for violent death. From the perspective of punishment and transformation should be effective and verifiable. The question is, when a person is over 90 years old, how can the significance of transformation be measured? From the perspective of social resources, the cost of care, medical care, and supervision for decades is staggering. From the perspective of human nature, we hope that felonies will be punished, and we also hope that the remaining human nature will be exported. You see, pulling each other from these four dimensions makes up the real puzzle of this story. Inertia and exception of the system. In the United States, violent death cases basically locked up the loose path. Especially in many weeks from the middle and late last century to the beginning of this century, the system increasingly emphasized zero risk tolerance for social risks. In other words, I'd rather drink than take risks. Smith is like an extreme sample selected by the system. It's not that no one remembers him, but he tends to stick to every risk calculation of release or not. It wasn't until he went from potential risk to the other end of the weakness of old age that the system was willing to loosen its fingers a little bit. The other side you may have overlooked. Don't forget, in this case, there is a murdered life and a family. In the judicial narrative, their pain is a constant term. The social debate on capital punishment and life often ignores this constant term, but for the parties concerned, that is all. Therefore, many people will say that Smith's long years are not only his business, but also represent the system and his attitude towards the families of the victims. Punishment has not been forgotten and spit out, and time is equal to justice. But we also have to admit that a real time is not omnipotent justice. Does locking people until they are in their 90s automatically mean that society is safer? Many hypothetical hearings are like checklist, repentance, attitude correction, evaluation, and psychological report, but can the form quantify whether a person is worthy of being believed again? When administrative responsibility, political pressure, and media public opinion are all there, who will be responsible in case? So the safest choice is to continue watching. It is both like justice and the lazy old man's sense of destiny himself. Imagine a person who is in his 90 years old when he is released from prison. He has to hold a torture aid when he walks, and the bags under his eyes are bruised and purple, like the shadow laid by years. It's not clearing the past, nor starting over. It's more like letting him wait for his final journey in a safe and supervised place. You say, is this freedom? I prefer to refer to him as complete maintenance. What can we learn? First, the cost of felony is far beyond imagination. A decision made at a young age may really swallow up a whole life. Second, the trade-off of the judicial system is realistic. Risk minimization is greater than sympathy, and certainty is greater than idealism. Third, society and human nature need a middle ground which neither forgives without a bottom line, nor turns people into a symbol that is locked up and unable to move. This middle ground is narrow and difficult, but it deserves to be discussed continuously. Smith's story is not a fairy tale, nor is it chicken soup. It reminds us that every trade-off of the law will land in someone's life. I hope we don't forget people when we discuss punishment. I'm a little blue man. Pay attention to me. We use truth and rationality to explain complex problems clearly. If you see here, don't forget to like, forward, and subscribe. Open the little bell to comment on this video, and I'll see you next time.